The wind had picked up before dusk, tugging at the porch swing, rustling dry leaves into frantic spirals that scraped across the pavement like whispers of something coming. I'd just finished steeping my tea when I heard it. Not thunder, not wind, but something soft, hesitant, a scratch at the screen door, then a low, broken meow. I froze. It had been years since anyone scratched at my door, even longer since anything living had crossed that threshold without knocking. The house had been quiet for so long, filled only with the creak of old floorboards and the rustle of pages turning under dim lamplight. Books had replaced people, and silence had replaced comfort. I pulled the quilt tighter around me, one Jonah used to tease me for hoarding every fall, and stepped toward the door. And there he was, a soaking wet cat, gray, matted fur clinging to his bony frame, one ear notched like it had been through something, one back leg barely touching the ground, trembling from the cold, but it was his eyes that stopped me. Green. Not just bright, but knowing. The kind of eyes that made you feel like someone had been watching you longer than you realized. He didn't hiss, didn't flinch. He just looked at me like he already knew my story. I opened the door wider, and in that moment, I swear, the wind stopped. He stepped in, slowly, deliberately, like he was coming home. I dried him off with an old towel and set a dish of water down on the floor. He didn't touch it at first, just circled the living room, pausing at photos on the shelf, the fireplace, Jonah's favorite chair. Then he settled himself into the exact center of the worn rug, curled up and slept. I watched him all evening, wondering where he'd come from, why he'd come here, and why it suddenly felt less lonely with him there. I named him Ash the next morning, for the color of his coat, and maybe for something else too, something I hadn't put into words yet. He took to the house quickly, found his favorite windowsill by day, my lap by night. Sometimes he'd sit and stare at the birdhouse Jonah built from scrap wood, crooked as anything, but still standing. Ash was quiet, gentle, never demanding. He moved through the house like he'd lived there in another lifetime. When I took him to the vet, they found no microchip, no ID, no injuries aside from the old limp. The vet figured he'd been surviving alone for years, and yet it didn't feel like he was new to me. It felt like he was filling a space I hadn't realized was still empty. Then one day, Ash disappeared. I searched the house, the garden, the old shed behind the fence. Nothing. For 2 days, the house felt like it had gone back in time, empty, muted, unfinished. Then on the third night, I heard it again. Scratch, scratch, meow. He was back. Same look in his eyes. But something was different. There was a leather collar around his neck. Old, weather-worn, fused to his fur in places. And underneath it, something metallic. My hands trembled as I unclasped the buckle. There, barely readable through the rust, were words that took the breath right out of me. Property of J. Morgan, 112, Crescent Lane. That was our address. Mine and Jonah's before the fire, before the cancer, before everything changed. J. Morgan Jonah. I dropped the tag. It hit the floor with a dull, heavy sound, like a memory finally landing. I didn't sleep that night. Sat with old photo boxes scattered across the living room. Pictures of Jonah holding a kitten on the porch, a small gray tabby, bright green eyes, notched ear already visible even then. That was Ash, or Asher, as Jonah had named him. The kitten we lost the same winter the house burned. Jonah had run back into the house trying to save something. Maybe the cat. Maybe those albums. He never made it out, and Asher had disappeared too. We thought the smoke took him, just like it took everything else. But now, 5 years later, he was back, older, quieter, but unmistakable. I called Jonah's sister. "Do you remember Asher?" I asked. She paused, then said, "Of course." Jonah adored that cat. He used to say Asher had a sixth sense, like he understood pain before people even spoke it. My throat tightened. He found his way back. She gasped, then whispered, "He found you." The next morning, I reached for the tag again, but it was gone. Not slipped off, not hidden under the collar, just gone. I tore the house apart looking for it, checked the garden, the car, even the laundry pile. Nothing. It was like it had only appeared long enough to remind me of him, of Jonah, of what still lived beneath the ashes. I started writing again after that. Letters to Jonah, stories from the garden, reflections on grief and how it never leaves. It just changes form. Ash became my quiet co-author, sitting by the window, tail flicking gently as the birds returned to the feeder. He liked to watch the sun rise, never chased it, just honored it. Sometimes I think he was teaching me something about coming home, about letting things go. One evening, I was watching Ash sleep when the phone rang. It was a local shelter. They'd scanned a photo I'd posted of him online. "We think we had that cat here years ago," the woman said. "He was brought in after the fire at Crescent Lane. An older man dropped him off anonymously, then vanished." My heart stopped. "Older man?" I asked. "Gray beard," she said. "Didn't leave a name, just said the cat needed a second chance." That was Jonah's father. He'd gone missing after Jonah passed. We all assumed he went off the grid in grief. Had he saved Asher? Had he kept him safe all these years, waiting for the right time to send him home? I looked over at Ash, still sleeping, still silent. But I knew he knew. Some stories never end. They just come back in different forms. Ash wasn't just a cat. He was a keeper of promises. A reminder that love doesn't burn in fire. It lingers in paw prints, in porch shadows, in the soft weight of something familiar curling beside you at night. He came back to finish something, to carry Jonah's memory, to bring me home to myself. And I like to think that somewhere, Jonah's watching from whatever porch he's found in the sky, smiling, saying thank you, because sometimes the ones we love send messengers, and sometimes they have whiskers. If this story touched your heart, there's another waiting just ahead, one that reminds us how loyal a heart can be, even after years of silence. In our next story, a faithful dog waits for his human 8 long years, and what happens when they finally reunite. It just might break you in the most beautiful way. And if you have a story you'd love for us to tell, drop it in the comments below. Because sometimes the next great story is already in your heart,